Are you trying to be as efficient and effective as possible at university? If so, then watch this video. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Joe here from Learn, Earn, Enjoy. If you're new here, we post content on a regular basis to do with those three topics, to learn, earn, enjoy. And it's the philosophy that I try to live my life by. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the best tools, tips and techniques that I used while at university, which helped me get a distinction in my MBA whilst also in full-time employment. In no particular order, the tools, tips and techniques that I'm going to cover today are as follows. Evernote, Preview, an independent person that can proofread, the Pomodoro Technique, advanced time blocking, ambient noise and lo-fi music, and finally the website Neil's Toolbox. Firstly, Evernote. And yes, I know Evernote is a note-taking app that's been around for a long time. And yes, I know a lot of people that used to use it have moved on to other note-taking apps. But for me, it is still the best note-taking app by far. In particular, it's very useful for taking notes during online lectures, including screen grabs of the slides, storing annotated PDFs, more on that later, and storing handwritten notes, whether that's from a notebook, a whiteboard, post-its, or somewhere else. The brilliant search function on Evernote means that you can input a search term and it will search through all of the notes, all of the attachments, and even all of the images of handwriting. I'm often very surprised when it's managed to find a word in my handwriting when it is really little more than just a scribble. There are both free and paid versions of Evernote. The free version contains most of the features of the paid versions, however, there are limits, such as the size of note and monthly uploads. If you are attaching a lot of files and images to the notes, you'll likely meet these upload limits, so I would suggest getting one of the paid versions. The good news is there is a 50% off student discount, which I'll link to in the description below. Secondly, using Preview on a Mac or another similar app on Windows to highlight and annotate PDFs. As most people will know, when researching to do an assignment or an essay, you're likely going to end up reading a lot of PDF journal articles. At undergraduate level and other previous qualifications, I used to physically print out the journal articles and highlight them with a pen. This meant that I not only had to be near a printer, but I had to pay for the privilege and carry a bag around with a folder full of articles. Obviously, using Preview or another similar app eliminates all of this. For example, when first reviewing a journal article, I'll highlight any of the bits that I think may be useful in yellow. Once it's initially reviewed and I'm going back through to decide what to actually use in the essay, if anything, I'll highlight any quoted parts green. This helps me easily distinguish between the parts that I've used and parts that I haven't, and also gives a real sense of progress in your essay, which is quite motivating. Once PDF articles were annotated, I would then store them in Evernote by attaching them to an Evernote note. Within the text of the note, I would normally write the reference for the article and the context, for example, the module and the essay that I was using it for. The brilliant part about the search function in Evernote, as I mentioned before, is that if you search within Evernote now, it will search within the note text and the PDF attachment. I have saved countless hours doing this when I'm reusing theories that I've read before in subsequent essays and assignments. Instead of having to go to Google Scholar and find the article again and read through the whole thing again, I'm able to quickly search in Evernote, pull it up and see my highlights from before and find the theory I'm looking for a lot quicker. Thirdly, an independent person that can proofread your work for you. For me, it was my girlfriend, but obviously it doesn't have to be a partner, just somebody that you trust and that is willing to help you. When proofreading it, they can check how the work flows and that it makes sense, as well as any punctuation and grammar. They do not have to be well versed in the topic of your assignment, and there is a good argument, the less they know about the topic, the better. This is because if they can read your essay or assignment and understand it, there is a good chance that you've done a very good job of explaining the topic in question. However, if they already knew about the topic, they might inadvertently gloss over some mistakes because they already know about the concept. I found, after spending a lot of time staring at the same document, I would often go blind to it, meaning that I would make simple mistakes and on proofreading it myself, not pick them up. In each and every case, my girlfriend was able to pick these up quickly, suggest how to fix them, and ultimately ensured that I got a better mark in my work. Fourthly, the Pomodoro Technique. This is something I've used personally for many years and as a natural massive procrastinator really helps me make the best use of my time. If you've not come across the Pomodoro Technique before, it's a technique where you have set intervals of work with short breaks in between. The default, and what I believe to be the most popular, It's 4 lots of 25 minutes of work with 5-minute breaks in between, and then a 30-minute break, then repeated 2 or 3 times. The idea is that in the 25-minute intervals, you focus purely on the task in hand and ignore any other distractions. The 5-minute breaks are then to deal with any distractions that would have happened and interrupted your work had you not been focused on the task in hand. It may sound really simple and easy, however, I was shocked when I first started doing this how hard it was to concentrate on a single thing for 25 minutes without being distracted. However, once I got over this and I'd managed to focus for 25 minutes, I was really surprised at how much I could actually achieve in that time. Things that would normally take me over an hour were now taking less than half the time, simply because I was focused solely on them and not being distracted by everything else. Once you've developed that ability to focus on a single thing for 25 minutes at a time, many people increase the length of sessions to 50 minutes, for example. However, I found that 25-minute chunks of work followed by the 5-minute intervals works best personally for me. There are loads of free and paid Pomodoro apps available. The one that I use looks like this. Or alternatively, you could just use a physical timer, and actually that is what the creator of the technique recommends. Rather than using an app or a website or anything, to use a physical timer instead. I'll leave a link to the app that I use in the description below. It is a free one, and I think it does the job perfectly. Ambient noise or lo-fi music. Again, this is another one that I've used personally for years. Also, it works particularly well in collaboration with the Pomodoro Technique mentioned before. I find that I'm unable to listen to music with lyrics when I'm trying to concentrate, as the lyrics distract me. However, if I listen to ambient noise or lo-fi music with no lyrics, I find it really helps with my concentration and blocks out all distractions. For ambient noises, I normally listen to stormy weather, rivers, or coffee shop ambient noise. And for lo-fi music, I listen to a whole host of different types. For ambient noises, there are 2 apps that I've used again and again. These are Mix and Noisli. In each of them, you're either able to listen to predetermined ambient noises and select them from a list, or create your own from a whole host of elements that they offer. If I was to recommend one of them, I'd recommend Mix over Noisli. This is purely because I like the interface of the app better. I will leave a link in the description below to both of them so you can check them out for yourselves. For lo-fi music, I mostly just listen to channels on YouTube, some which stream 24/7 and some which are pre-recorded. A lot of them also have corresponding playlists on Spotify. I'll leave a link to a list of my favourite ones in the description below. Advanced time blocking, and this is a huge one. Being prepared in advance, blocking out time to do specific tasks in your calendar makes so much difference. Blocking out time in your calendar to do specific tasks in advance allows you to be more purposeful with your time. It also means you're less likely to get distracted. I find if I do this and combine it with the Pomodoro technique and the ambient noise or lo-fi music mentioned earlier, I can be the absolutely most efficient possible with my time. One final thing you can combine with this, which I find really helpful, is to go to a specific place for that specific time. For example, going to the library to do work at a specific time. I find this much easier to concentrate than if I was just to pop into my office at home on the off chance and try and do some work. Finally, a very simple one that I've used since undergraduate and has saved me hours and hours since then is neilstoolbox.com. neilstoolbox.com is a Harvard reference generator. You simply copy in each of the aspects of the journal and it outputs the reference in classic Harvard style. There are other ways of automating the referencing process, using the built-in features within Word, for example, or the export reference from Google Scholar. However, I have found Neil's Toolbox both the most consistent and the most easy to use. For example, if you use Google Scholar, even though you can select Harvard each time, I found that the reference format does change between different sources. It is worth noting though that most universities have their own nuanced version of Harvard style referencing. So it is worth checking that what neilstoolbox.com outputs is in line with your university's nuanced style. Thanks for staying with me to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed the content, please do consider liking and subscribing. We're posting more content on a regular basis, and if you enjoyed this, I'm sure you'll enjoy that as well. So those are my tools, tips and techniques that I used at university. What did you think of them? Will any of those help you? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.